All right, good afternoon. Liberty North Psychology, AP and dual credit psychology is virtual Wednesday, November 17th. All right, so this is the last live stream of the day. All right, so if you want to get out your AP learning targets, we're going to be continuing with AP learning target number 4 from unit 5. Okay, which is states of consciousness. And we are on number 4. Discuss aspects of sleep and dreaming. Okay, a pretty broad learning target. All right, and we started it on Monday and Tuesday. So again, if you were not in class on Monday and Tuesday, or if you need a review, I've got the notes on a doc under your Unit 5 module. So it says sleep notes, sleep process notes, and videos. So again, you just click on that, and it's got the outline of the sleep process that we went over Monday and Tuesday. So again, that's very important that you kind of have that foundational information so that you understand how the sleep process should look and how it's supposed to work. And then we'll talk about what happens when it doesn't work. And then that'll also help you understand your biological cycles, okay? And then also on there, I have sleep disorder videos. So if any of the disorders interest you, you can find supplemental videos on Canvas there under the module that you can watch. Again, it's a very interesting chapter, very fascinating. And again, sleep is something we all can relate to. States of consciousness we can all relate to because it impacts and affects our lives daily. Okay, all right. So if you want to get out your AP learning targets, we're going to do number 4. So we're going to add information to number 4. Okay, so the first thing we're going to add is sleep disorders. All right. Now, again, sleep disorders are part of the DSM-5, so they actually have their own category, own chapter in the DSM-5 called sleep disorders. So obviously, it's very psychological, and there are many sleep disorders. These are just a few, so this is not an all-inclusive list. Okay, so these are the ones that are mainly covered by the AP exam and that are in most regular psych textbooks for college. Okay, all right, so pages 238 to 239. Okay, we're just going to go down these. Okay, so insomnia is kind of the most common, oh, actually, I shouldn't say most popular, most known disorder, which is insomnia. Now, what most people know and understand insomnia as is the inability to go to sleep. But you also need to know that insomnia is the inability to stay asleep. Okay, so it could be one or the other. So insomniacs actually can sometimes go to sleep, but they'll only sleep for like the first 2 hours, and then they're up and they can't go back to sleep. So, you know, either one would be pretty debilitating, and you can have either one and have insomnia. Okay, so in the DSM-5, also know there are many different forms of insomnia. This is just kind of the general one. And again, the CDC has come out and kind of basically said everybody in our country is probably going to suffer from a period of insomnia at least once in their life. And they define that as a 3 to 7 day period in which we will either struggle to go to sleep or struggle to stay asleep. Okay. Now that does not mean you have the disorder. Okay. If you have this disorder or any of these disorders, they are very pervasive in your life. It's almost like a daily occurrence. Okay. And there's massive impact. So it's kind of like you flip it around. You know, we have normal sleep patterns, and then every once in a while we have abnormalities in our sleep. Or if I have a disorder, my sleep is not normal. You know, that's the everyday occurrence, and then every once in a while it will be normal. So, okay, so inability to go to sleep or stay asleep. All right, narcolepsy, which we started yesterday or Monday and Tuesday. We watched a video, Rusty the narcoleptic dog, and we actually got to see Rusty have a sleep attack. So narcoleptics suffer from sleep attacks, okay, which are sudden onset of sleep, okay, and it's REM sleep. So they just will, during the day, they'll have bouts of sleep attacks in which they just go to sleep and they hit REM sleep. And they can be out of the blue without warning. And then what can make them very severe is if you have cataplexy, which is the sleep paralysis. So we've already talked about when I am in REM sleep, my mind is active, but my body is paralyzed to protect me from acting out my dreams. So they get this. So since they go right into REM with their sleep attacks, they actually have the cataplexy that takes them on. And so they just become paralyzed and then they go to sleep. So, you know, they have to be very, very careful. We have a video supplement over narcolepsy, which is a new segment in which they kind of follow a senior in high school in Washington State And he talks about, he gets aura. So sometimes if you're narcoleptic, you get a warning sign that the sleep attacks are coming. He cannot drive, right? But he does get warning signs. His tongue and his mouth will start to go numb. And then he knows he needs to get somewhere safe. So he needs to get in a situation or a position in which he's not going to fall very, very far, because then that cataplexy will set on and he becomes paralyzed, and then he goes to sleep and he goes right into REM. Okay. So if you watch Rusty, the narcoleptic dog, he's running around and then boom, he just goes down. And those are those sleep attacks. Sometimes they come with warning signs and sometimes they don't. Okay. Now, where it really starts to impact their life is if you notice, every time they have a sleep attack, they get REM sleep. And narcoleptics, that's usually what they do. They go into REM sleep, but they don't hit the non-rapid eye movement period of sleep, 3 and 4, where the body gets restoration. So they are always tired. So even though they're having these sleep attacks, they are always tired because they're not getting any non-rapid eye movement or very little non-rapid eye movement to restore their body. Okay. Sleep apnea. Every year we have 2 or 3 students in each class who have relatives that have sleep apnea, mainly parents or grandparents. It onsets later on in life. And it's when you stop breathing during 3 and 4 sleep. So when I hit the deep stages of sleep, that non-rapid eye movement period, I stop breathing. Okay. So, and that can be accompanied by loud snoring, gasping, snorting. Okay. There's usually a kind of a sound effect there. And so what happens when they hit that deep delta wave sleep, they stop breathing, which obviously then hurts that period of sleep. So they do feel tired and exhausted, and mainly because their body, when it's restoring itself, doesn't get constant sleep. It's constantly interrupted. So it kind of breaks up that part of sleep. Okay. And so then they'll have sleep with the oxygen masks to keep the oxygen flowing, CPAP machines, so on and so forth. All right, night terrors, which all of us have probably had. Night terrors are very common when you're a child or an adolescent. They are correlated with development. And what they are is, again, when I hit 3-4 sleep, I'm going to sit up and have just a huge nervous system reaction. I'm going to probably scream and yell out. I'm going to grind my teeth, tense my muscles. My eyes will be open. I'll probably be sweating. I'll be breathing very heavily. So it actually gets its name night terror, not from the people who experience it, from the people who witness it. Because, you just hear your child scream in the middle of the night. You run in and their eyes are open. They're not responding. They're clenching their muscles, their teeth. They're sweating, and then they go back to sleep. And you can have more of these at night. In severe cases, every time they hit 3 and 4, which could be 4 to 7 times a night, they could have a night terror or multiple night terrors. Now, when they wake up, they don't remember that they've had them. They might have the side effects of like aching muscles, their teeth might hurt, their jaw might hurt, but they generally don't remember it. And what we know is the body just goes into this huge red alert sympathetic nervous system response, and then it just goes away. We know it's correlated with development again, but it can linger into adulthood. And then it just seems to kind of just go away for most of us. We just stop doing it. Okay. All right. So again, this impacts 3-4 sleep, but generally it's just in that developmental period of childhood or adolescence. Okay. All right. Now, this is not in your book, but just so you kind of know, the DSM categorizes all sleep disorders into 2 categories. They're either parasomnias or dysomnias. Parasomnias are when you have abnormal behavior during sleep, okay? And dysomnias are when you have abnormal levels or amounts of sleep, okay? So night terrors and sleep apnea would be parasomnias because, again, the abnormal behavior occurs during sleep. And then obviously insomnia is the kind of the best example of a dysomnia, not enough sleep. But narcolepsy is also a dysomnia because, again, I don't get 3-4 sleep and I have too much REM sleep, okay? All right. All right, second part is your biological rhythms, which this is on page 225 to 226. Okay, so we've talked about, my body and my brain go through cycles. Every day I have cycles, every 90 minutes I have cycles every month. And then I also have yearly cycles. Okay, and all those are controlled by my hypothalamus. So they're internal. It's like my internal biological clocks. I have several, okay? I have a yearly clock, a monthly clock, a daily clock, and then a 90-minute clock, okay? Sleep is actually one of the rhythms in my circadian rhythm, which is the 24-hour cycles, okay? So in a 24-hour cycle, I have one period of wakefulness and one period of sleep, all right? Yes, you nappers. I said it. 1 period of sleep, okay? Which is why the CDC says don't nap for over 20 minutes. Don't nap after 5, because you get one cycle or you get 1 period of sleep, okay, every 24 hours that your brain is going to use to restore itself and restore your body, okay? All right. And then also it's a ultradian rhythm, because within that sleep period and wakefulness period, I have 90-minute cycles, okay, which are my sleep cycles, right? So we talked about I go pyramid up and then down all the stages of sleep, and that's a sleep cycle. And that happens once every 90 to 120 minutes, and then I'll go through another cycle. And then at night in my sleep period, I generally have 4 to 7 90-minute cycles, okay, of sleep, in which the body does what it needs to do, restores itself, and so does the brain, okay? All right, so sleep is both of those, all right? So we have 1 sleep period every 24 hours, and then we have 4 to 7 sleep cycles every 90 minutes when we're in our sleep period. Now, when I'm awake, I also have 1 period of wakefulness, and I also have ultradian rhythms every 90 minutes when I'm awake. So every 90 minutes, I go through a cycle. So again, things are ebbing and flowing and cycling in and out all day, every 24 hours. So, I have a peak time of the day in which my body temperature is the highest. I have a time when it's the lowest. I have a peak sensitivity to pain period, the lowest. Everything cycles in and out, okay? All right, based on those 2 rhythms, okay? All right, now, just know, and we kind of went over this concept as well, but in each of my periods, my wakefulness period and my sleep period, all right, I go through all 3 levels of consciousness. So even when I'm awake and I'm in that wakefulness circadian rhythm, I go conscious, pre-conscious, unconscious, okay? So again, unconscious just means unaware. So I think we can all relate to, we definitely have periods during the day in which we become unaware, briefly, momentarily, okay? These 2 we use quite a bit, all right? Okay, but the same thing happens at night. When I have my sleep circadian rhythm, parts of sleep, I'm aware. Parts of sleep, I'm kind of in both worlds, okay? Aware, but sleeping, so like stage 2 sleep. And then 3, 4 would be where I'm, the hardest to wake up, and so on and so forth, okay? All right, so sleep is a circadian rhythm, and it's an ultradian rhythm, all right? All right, number 3, which I would add this to your brain structures, because you already have this structure listed, okay? So it's one of the big important ones to psychology, and that's the hypothalamus, all right? So I would add sleep now to the hypothalamus, okay? All right, so the first thing you need to know is that my hypothalamus, as part of its drive function, its homeostasis function, controls my sleep cycles, okay? So again, if I am tired, the hypothalamus drives me to get sleep, okay? And not only that, the hypothalamus custom makes my sleep circadian rhythm every night and tailor makes it just to what I need the most. Do I need more REM sleep? Do I need more non-REM sleep? Okay. If I'm sick, I'm fighting off an illness, I'm going to need more non-rapid eye movement sleep. So it's going to keep me in those stages of sleep longer. If I'm mentally exhausted, and I need REM sleep, my hypothalamus is going to keep me in REM sleep longer. Okay. Now I'm still going to cycle through all the stages like I normally do. I'm just going to stay where I need the most restoration. Okay. So, which is really pretty cool that you kind of have a unique sleep circadian rhythm for you every night, created by your mind and your body, okay? So now all of that is part of that homeostasis, the hypothalamus keeping my body in internal balance, okay? Right? The second thing that the hypothalamus does in this chapter is it controls my biological rhythms, okay? My biological clocks, my internal clocks, right? So it controls and sets my circadian rhythm and my ultradian rhythm. Now, a specific part of the hypothalamus does that, and that's called the SCN, which stands for suprachiasmatic nucleus, which nobody wants to say, which is why we have the abbreviation, okay? And it's the part of my hypothalamus that actually responds to external stimuli into the environment, and it sets my biological clocks and my cycles based on that external environment, okay? So we just had daylight savings time, so now we have light much earlier in the morning, which means that we are awake earlier, but it also gets dark earlier, which means that we get sleepier earlier, okay? So, now when you wake up, the sun is kind of coming up, all right? And then it gets dark earlier. Pretty soon it'll be dark when we're up and dark when we're kind of, earlier as well, which is why in the winter, we're generally more tired, we're more fatigued. We can deal with depression a little bit more and so on and so forth, okay? All right, so we got two things you need to add there. Hypothalamus controls my sleep, okay? My sleep rhythms based on its homeostasis function. And then it also controls my biological clocks, my cycles, my rhythms, okay? Which is the SCN part of the hypothalamus, okay? All right. So again, if you need to access the notes we took on Monday and Tuesday, those are on Canvas under the sleep process notes doc, okay? The notes that are here today are on the thumbnail for the YouTube videos. I also sent it out on Twitter, our Twitter account. And then we'll continue on with learning target number 4 on Thursday and Friday. We'll talk about hypnosis and lucid dreaming. And then on Monday and Tuesday, we'll end up with kind of dream analysis, and then do our code word assignment. And then we'll also look at just how we go through and cycle through the levels of consciousness each day. Okay. All right. Have a good virtual Wednesday, good afternoon and evening. I will see you guys all Thursday and Friday. If you have any questions, please email me. Let me know.